want to welcome you. How has been your lectures and classes? And I hope we have been staying safe in all our respective states and, of course, homes. Okay, so once again, I want to welcome you. Good evening. Today, we're going to be having HRM 301. And from our course outline, we are to move to the third topic, which is job analysis. Okay, this is a human resource management course, and we are going to be dealing with job analysis. I'm currently sharing my screen. I hope you can see it very clearly. Let me bolden it a bit so that you can see it very much better. Okay, so let's move on. Human resource management, and for the purpose of time, I will not go back to talk about all what we have already been discussing in our previous classes. So today we're going to be talking about the topic job analysis. It's quite broad a topic, but let's see what we can cover within the next 30 minutes. Okay, and of course, you know that as a human resource manager, during our introductory class, we talked about one of the responsibilities being planning. Okay, that you must plan for your organization, plan for your company, plan for the human resource, okay, within that establishment. Now, one of your responsibilities and one of the things you must also do as a human resource manager within your in your place of assignment and work is that you have to carry out a detailed job analysis of the work that goes on there. Workers have to understand every aspects of their job and be able to carry out their job and responsibilities very effectively. So we say job analysis is a procedure by which vital or pertinent information is obtained out of a job. Okay, so it is the detailed and systematic study of information relating to the operation and responsibilities of a job. Okay, so you have to study a job, you have to understand it, you have to understand the details of what is required on that job. Okay, and we are going to be dealing with two major aspects of job analysis because I said it is the determination of tasks which comprises of the job, and the skill of this ingredient is what is that I want you to recall is the work that is to be done or the job that is to be done itself. You have to understand it into two. Then you also have to understand what the worker has to do. So the job and the worker are two concepts we are going to be examining very well as we attempt to see how we can understand what job analysis is. Okay, so having seen it that you have to it's a detailed analysis and inventory of all that is required on the job and what workers are supposed to do, we must ask how can we get information for job analysis when we are trying to analyze a particular job, where what information should come into, okay, job analysis. First of all, you have to identify the job, and by job identification, we are talking about what are the details, what is the title of the job. We're talking about job analysis in this topic, and we said job analysis details everything that is to be done on that job, and it has to do with the worker and the work that is to be done. So let us look at information that should come when you want to analyze a job. The job has to have a title. Let me take for instance, your teacher, maybe you're lecturer one, or you're an accountant, and maybe you're the junior accountant, or you're an auditor. You know, all those are what is called the title of the job and the code number. Okay, you're a cashier, you're a teller, maybe you work in a hotel as a hotelier, you know, whatever the title of the job. Then the characteristics of the job in terms of its location, the physical setting, the supervision, who do you report to, excuse me, I beg your pardon, which has to do with the company structure and organogram. What are the hazards on the job? Then what will the worker be doing? That is number three. These are the contents of job analysis. What is the worker going to be doing when you employ people? What will be their job? What will be their responsibilities? This is where what the worker will be doing will come into play. Then what materials and equipment will the worker be using? How is he going to carry out his job? What is the nature of operation of the job? Is it lifting? Is it pulling? Is it carrying? Is it handling? Is it talking with people? Is it managing people? is it an electrical person? What is the nature of job and how is that job to be performed? Okay, then we're also going to be seeing that in job analysis, one of the content should be what should be the required attribute, what should the prospective or what should the employee or staff have to be able to carry out the job that is being analyzed. So is it experience, is it training, is it what should be the personal attributes in terms of his dexterity, physical demands, and mental aptitude, and all of that. So having looked at all of that, these are the contents that should be when you're analyzing a job. It's also important to ask that, okay, if we need all this information, how do we source for it? How do we get and gather all the information that we can use from job analysis? There are actually four major places or four major sources of information for job analysis. Okay, there are four methods and sources that you can gather information for job analysis. First of all, is by what we call personal observation. What is personal observation? People are working, people are carrying out their responsibilities. You need to observe them and see what they are doing. And by that personal observation, you, for instance, you are working as a teacher. If I tell you that write down your responsibilities, you can write them down because by observation and by doing that work, you already know your responsibilities. The second place we can get information for job analysis is by the use of questionnaires. Okay, of course, you know what a questionnaire is when you develop different questions based on a particular scope or work or responses that you desire. So if you want to carry, you can develop a questionnaire in your work environment to ask staff about the nature and the nature and all the requirements of their job. So those questionnaires, as workers fill them within the workplace, you can gather information about questionnaire. Then you can use record documentation, and you can also use interview. You can bring the manager on board and say, okay, we want to interview you. We are trying to develop a job detailed job analysis for your company, your organization. What positions do you have? How many workers do you have? What did they do? Are they segmented into different units or departments? All that structure helps us to understand, and also such questions help us to gather information that are relevant for job analysis. All right, so let's quickly move on to understanding the two major aspects of job analysis. The two major aspects of job analysis are what is called job description and job specification. I need you to listen very attentively because this is one of the core aspects of carrying out job analysis. All right, job analysis can be largely categorized into two aspects. Okay, said in other words, there are certain information we are going to be getting from job and when we are analyzing the job. Okay, and the first is what is called job description. Okay, job description. Now, and the second one is what is called job specification. Please write that down. Your notes, you're jotting, write that down. The first aspect of job analysis is what is called job description, and the second one is called job specification. In interviews, this often confuses prospective employees and even staff working in a place. Ask them to differentiate between job description and specification, and they are lost. So what is job description? Please listen attentively. Job description is a written record of the duties, written record of the responsibilities and requirement of a particular job. Okay, job description has to do with the work that is to be done. It is also a detailed information about things like the title of the job, the location, the working conditions. It tells us what is to be done and how it is to be done. Okay, it tells us what is to be done and how it's to be done. Now, note that job description has nothing to do with the worker. It has nothing to do with the staff. It has absolutely nothing to do with the employees, but it has everything to do with the job. One of the very important reasons for job description is that it lets the workers know what they are supposed to do. Okay, it helps us to see graphically a pictorial view or a graphical understanding and a written record of all that is required on the particular job. So if I'm about to employ you into my organization, one of the questions you ask me is, sir, what do you do? What am I going to be doing? What will be my duties and responsibilities? Then I can now outline it to you. That outlining that I'm doing to you has been developed from what is called a job description. Now let's look at information that comes in a job description. All right. First of all, right, the first thing is what is called job identification. Job identification, which has to do with the title of the job, the division, the code number or the staff number. Okay, it indicates the name of the department and all of that. It gives us what is called a designation. We are able to identify the job. So if I have all the designation of your job, I can locate you in the office. You tell me that, okay, you're a lecturer. Okay, what school? Ahmadu Bello University or JPTS Institute of Science, Management and Technology. What state? Okay, you say, okay, I'm in Kogi State. Oh, what center? I'm in Okene. Oh, beautiful. What level? You're in 300 level. Or what are, as you're trying to locate a lecturer, what department? He tells you the department. Now, if you're able to go to that department, you are able to locate that lecturer because of the job identification. Okay. Now, the second thing is what is called the job summary. Summary is a brief encapsulation or brief explanation in a few sentences of something. So we said it gives us a short definition of what you do on your job. Okay, it also serves as a summary to orient the reader towards understanding detailed information about a particular thing. So job summary tells us in quick few sentences what is required or what you do on the job. So we are looking at, by way of revision now, we're looking at the contents in job description. We said first of all is job identification, secondly job summary, the third is what is called job duties, and the job duties is what is called the heart of the job. So what do you do on the job? What do you do on the work? All that is what is called job duty. So you list out the duties and responsibilities. Okay, when we come to performance appraisal, you will see the very important need for job analysis. Okay, then the fourth thing is what is called the relationship with other jobs, because no worker is going to work in isolation. You have to work with other people. The fifth is supervision. Who do you report to? Who is above you? Who is under you within company organogram? Then number six is working conditions under which you're going to work. Are you going to work under cold, heat, dust, moisture, oily conditions? If you're a civil engineer, construction road, you're going to work under dust condition. You're going to work under heat, and you're also going to work under rain. Okay, these are the factors to consider while doing your job, the hazards related to the job. Okay, so these are what is contained in job description. The second thing to note is what is called job specification. Job specification. Okay, job specification. Job specification. Now, earlier on we said job analysis is divided into job description and job specification. Now, what is job specification? Remember that we said job description is everything that is required about the job, and it has nothing to do with the staff or the employee or the worker. Now, going on to job specification, it is what is required of the personnel or the worker or the staff or the employee. So it is a written record of the requirements sought in an individual worker for a given job. In other words, it refers to the summary, or it is about what the worker must know, what he must have, the minimum acceptable human qualities required of that worker to be able to carry out the job that he has been given. Okay, so let's look at certain things about job specification. The first thing is physical characteristics. So physical characteristics, which has to do with things like his health status, which has to do with things like your strength, your endurance, your size, your weight, your vision, your ability to see. Talking about vision, your ability to see. If you said you are a lab attendant, you studied microbiology, and you go to the lab, you carry out analysis, you carry out investigation, take samples, you use microscope. If you do not see well, how do you do your job well? There are some, talking about voices, there are voices that are very good for public spaces in terms of adverts, in terms of speech and all of that. You know, a marketing work, you need good voices. Advertisement, you need good voices. Color, okay, fair skin, light skin, all these things are physical characteristics which are required in certain jobs as prerequisite for doing such jobs. The next is what is called psychological characteristics, which has to do with things like your ingenuity, that's your intelligence, your skill, your resourcefulness, your analytical ability, you can easily concentrate and focus on your job. These are psychological characteristics. Not every job is the same. There are certain jobs that you can be doing and multitasking. You can be listening to music in the office while you're working and just having a nice time, as though, and yet you're working and you're doing your job well. But there are some other kinds of job that does not require that level of distraction. It requires 100% mental focus. It is not every job that multitasking is a key. All right, so psychological characteristics is very important. The next is personal characteristics and trait like good and pleasing manners. When somebody has a very good manners, pleasing manners, he talks to people, he smiles, and the rest of that, such persons could be used for what? Managing customers, relating with people, frontline service employees. Okay, emotional stability. Okay, not one that is easily emotional and given to tears and all of that. Even submissiveness and extroversion. All these things are personal traits that are required on jobs. You can see that all what you are looking at has to do with the work and has nothing to do with the job. Also, responsibilities which include supervision to others and other demographic nature such as age, sex, education, language abilities, and the rest of those. So you see, let me give an example. You see an advert and they are telling you that the prospective or the applicant should have a minimum of, let's assume, a 2-1, that is second class upper in maybe marketing, and should have worked in relevant field for not less than 3 years. You can see that all those requirements has to do with the person and have something to do with the job. So all those requirements that you're reading that you must have to be able to carry out a job or to apply for a job is what is called job specification, because they are the human qualities required. If you are employing somebody as a CID, you cannot employ, it's not advisable to employ one who is very extroverted and has a sanguine nature now and choleric that can talk very well, because before you know what, he has let all the secret out. But how about for a job like a secret service job, you employ someone who is naturally quiet? You will naturally do well at such jobs, because somebody who is extroverted and just talks anyhow will leak out very vital information without even knowing. He will have already said it because his mouth goes before his brain. So while he has said it, afterwards he thinks and says, oh, I shouldn't have said that. Okay, so he does not take time to think before he acts afterwards, he thinks later. But the converse is true for quiet and rather extrovert, because they rather want to process their thoughts before letting it out. So that's the point, understanding the difference between job description and job analysis and the role they play in analyzing a job. Okay, now a subtopic we're going to look at very quickly as our time begins to round up is what we call job design. Job design. Job design. Okay, now job analysis helps in developing appropriate design of a job to improve efficiency and work satisfaction. Now, what is job design? We said is the process of deciding the content of a job in terms of its duties and responsibilities, and on the method used in carrying out that job in terms of the techniques. It is a deliberate, I'm putting my cursor where I'm reading, it is a deliberate and systematic attempt to structure the technical and social aspects of work so as to improve efficiency. The main objective, let's scroll down. The main objective, please follow my mouse pointer. The main objective of job design is to integrate or to bring together the needs of the individual and the requirements of the organization. Needs of employees include job satisfaction. What does the employee require? What does he want on the job? Interest, satisfaction, challenge, he wants to achieve more. What does the organization want? Organizational requirements refer to what? High productivity, technical efficiency, quality work, quality delivery, customer satisfaction. So today, educated and creative employees demand well-designed jobs, therefore increasing their attempts made to redesign jobs to improve efficiency and quality becomes very, very important. Now, having said and understood that the objective of job design is to see that, okay, you, the worker, okay, has, or let me put it this way, when you go into a place of work, you have certain desires. You're in school, you're a student, you have desires. You want to study, you want to graduate, you're studying business administration, you're studying whatever you are studying. So you have a goal, you have a desire, you have interest, you want to achieve. That is your what? What you desire. Now, that is your desire. But the organization also has its own desires. What does the organization desire? It wants to make profit, it wants good staff, it wants efficiency, it wants top quality, it wants to become the best brand out there. So how do we create a blend? How do we design a system that meets the need of who? The employee, and such that he can also meet, and as he's working, he can also meet the need of what? The system, or the organization where he works. So this is where job design is. We are saying, how do we create that system that we have a win-win? Okay, that the employee does not feel he has been used and the company has profited, and neither does the company feel, oh, we have given so much to our staff and we have not achieved our goal. Okay, and based on that, we have three major approaches to job design. The first is what is called the engineering approach, commonly called the classical approach. Okay, that was developed by Frederick Taylor. Now, he focused on what is called planning and improving human effort. Okay, now Taylor says that the work of every workman is fully planned out by management. In other words, the management plans out everything that is to be done by the worker, and is told to the worker in advance. So you know what you're to do next week, you know what you're to do tomorrow, and so this detailed tasks helps you to be able to carry out your job effectively because you are aware. Okay, job design on the basis of classical approach are not appropriate in modern terms. Okay, modern environment characterized by increased awareness, improved education, and rising expectations. So that's the classical approach where the management prepares and lets workers know on a daily, weekly basis what they're supposed to be doing on their job so that they can be prepared to deliver while achieving their own goal. But we have another approach called the behavioral approach, okay, which of course was developed by famous people, Elton Mayo and Frederick Hensberg, who also developed the Hensberg principle of motivation. Okay, now what they said is they're looking for alternative ways to do that, and they said you have to redesign your job, your work structure, by bringing in job enrichment and productive systems and other similar strategies that were developed to improve quality of life of the worker. Now, the most popular behavioral approach to job redesign is job characteristics. Okay, this model is based on the assumption that there are three philosophical starts of any job holder, which is what is motivation, satisfaction, and performance to work. So they identified what a worker requires. Three major things that every worker requires. We're looking at the behavioral approach, studying human behavior now. They say workers want to be motivated, want to be satisfied with their job, and they want to be performed with their job. So behavioral approach to job design is a socio-technical approach as it deals with both the technical and social aspect. It's therefore an improvement over the classical approach. The top characteristics model, however, suffers from some major limitations. It is probabilistic and has intuitive appeal, but there is a little evidence that helps it to see that what it is true. Now, I'll switch to another material to help us understand this more, and we have just 10 minutes more. Okay, so the first one we looked at was a classical approach, and the second one is what is called the behavioral approach. Okay, I'm trying to share this screen. Okay, just a minute, trying to work it out. Okay, so the first was a classical or engineering approach. Second was what the behavioral approach, is also called the human approach. Now, the human relations approach recognizes the need to design jobs which are interesting and rewarding. Okay, these jobs, they are interesting, they are rewarding, and you carry out what is called job enrichment. And don't forget, we said that they use physiological factors where they identify things that every worker wants, which are what satisfaction on the job, and they want improvement on the job, and they want to be motivated on their job. And so he said, supply these various factors to employee, and you will see that you can use that as an approach to design a job. The employee is satisfied with the job. So their principle says an employee will be dissatisfied and will not give his best on the job if these needs are not met. Then the last approach is what is called the job characteristics approach. The job characteristics approach. Now, this theory, of course, is by Hackman and Oldham, which states that employees will work hard when they are rewarded for the work they do, and when the work gives them what satisfaction. Okay, so hence integration, motivation, and satisfaction, brings about joy as they carry out their work. So let me quickly I highlight the 5 things that they were able to. According to this approach, job can be described in terms of 5 core dimensions. Okay, the first is what is called the skill variety. Secondly, task identity. Thirdly, task significance. Fourth is autonomy, and lastly is staff feedback. Let's quickly explain these things before we call it a day. The extent to which the job provides a variety of skills to carry out other tasks, what is called skill variety. I'm speeding up, our time is almost up. Skill task identification, the degree to which the jobs require a kind of completion from beginning to end. Task significance, the extent to which the job has an important impact on the lives of other people. Autonomy is the degree to which job allows an individual to make decisions without the influence of management. And lastly, the extent to which a person receives clear information about the performance and effectiveness of their work. So what this approach, the job characteristics approach, says is that if you understand the 5 core dimensions, okay, of what is required of workers in a workplace, and apply it where there's skill variety, they can do a lot of things with their skills. They know their job that they are to do. Their task becomes they make it very important and part of their lives. And they feel they are contributing. Autonomy, you allow them to work, and you create a way that they can get clear information and get a feedback on how they are doing their work. The approach is said that based on these three, these three understanding and approach to job design, you can help to come up with a very, very good design of job that will suit workers. So very quickly, let me make a quick review, and if we have time, we'll proceed, and if we don't, we'll call it a day. We're looking at job analysis, and we've looked at what job analysis is and the content. We said you have to understand fully what works on a job, analyze all the contents of the job, so that you can have a good delivery to your workers, yes, to your staff. And we now said job design analysis is divided into 2 major parts. The first being job description, and the second being job specification. What did we say job description is? We said it's a written record of all the details that are required on a particular job. It has nothing to do with the work itself. It has everything to do with the job, but has nothing to do with the worker himself. Okay, and we looked at the contents of it. We now proceeded to look at job specification, and we said job specification has everything to do with the worker. Okay, they are the minimum required human qualities that a worker must have to be able to carry out his job. And we said we looked at the contents that must be there in the job, specification, I beg your pardon. And we said the first are physical characteristics. You must consider that. You must consider psychological characteristics. You must consider personal characteristics or traits, more like temperament. You must also look at the responsibilities that they are supposed to do and who they report to, and demographic nature. From which we now proceeded to talk about job design. And we said every worker in a entity, organization, or business has their goals, their desire, what they want to achieve, and the company or the place of work also has its goals that it wants to achieve. So the tussle here is, how do we design an effective system? What approach do we take and design an effective system that will suit both the employee and will also suit the employer or the workplace. I would say there are three major approaches. The first, which is engineering approach, I would say is when or call engineering approach, when management develops a system of communicating the responsibilities of the workers on probably on a daily or weekly basis, where they get to know what they are to do a day before or a week to do, or just the point is in advance. Each worker receives record and instruction of what they are to do in advance. But this approach, which is very old, is not effective in in achieving job design, because you should have workers should know what they are to do, and so you don't just try to bring about their responsibilities and what they are to do in such a short notice. Their responsibilities are laid down so that they can plan well. Then we said the human relations approach recognize the job design, which are you must enrich your job. Yes, it's called job enrichment. The human approach talks about what is called job enrichment. Okay. And we said it was brought about by Hensberg, who brought about, also talked about the motivation theory. Okay, and he said if jobs are rewarding and they are interesting, workers will give their best. Okay, so it involves understanding, the work, the responsibilities, what is called hygiene factor. Hygiene factors are the necessities on the job that workers require that he cannot do without. Okay, so according to Hesberg, the employee satisfied with the job if required maintenance factors to the required degree are not introduced into the job. And lastly, we now looked at what job characteristics approach by Hackman and Oldham, which says that what employees will work very hard when they are rewarded for what they do, and the work gives them a level of what satisfaction. Hence, we must consider human motivation, satisfaction, and performance for them to be able to carry out their work. And based on that, we now say there are 5 core dimensions that must be considered in the human approach: the variety of skill, or what we call skill variety; task identity, knowing their job and what to do; the significance; autonomy, that has to do with giving them the freedom to work as they are supposed to work, so that you can achieve your goals as they do their job. Then create a system where you can get a feedback. Okay, so we're going to wrap it up for today. And when we come in the next class, we're going to be looking at just one aspect that is left, that is the 3 important methods of job design, which is called job rotation, job enlargement, and job enrichment. From there, we'll proceed to the next topic. I hope that we'll be able to cover the whole course in good time. Thank you so much for being part of today's class. I wish everyone a happy evening, and please do stay safe and stay well. Have a nice evening. Thank you.